In my previous video, what I had done was I had showed you all the hardware upgrades I did to the printer. But along with the hardware upgrades, you need to do a lot of software modifications before you can get really good prints. And the hardware modifications are just my personal preference. You don't actually have to do those, but if you were to do these software upgrades, it's free. There's no physical maintenance you have to do. It's all code, and it works just fine.
The main thing you want to do first is update the slicer. Regardless if you use matter control, slicer with a 3 for the E, Cura, it's always the best to have the newest revision of the software. I use Cura, and currently the newest version available is 15.02.1. I haven't had any problems with the slicer so far. Everything seems to be running pretty well. But if you're using matter control and you have one of the first revisions of that software, I do believe you have some lag through the USB port, and also you have some settings issues. I think they finally fixed the settings bug, where if you have settings in your slicer, they actually save after you close the program. That used to be an issue with matter control. I don't know if it still is or not. After you check if your slicer is updated, you want to make sure you update your firmware, and you want the newest version of the stock firmware. And you want to make sure that everything is all good and you don't have any problems, and then make a copy of that folder, rename it, and then the next thing I recommend to do is customize the firmware. And so this is configuration.h. If you don't know what you're doing here or what you're looking at, go look at another video that's going to be linked in the description. Tom does a good video on that. Pretty much it's everything about setting up the firmware for your printer. After you get custom firmware, a good thing to do in your slicer is create custom profiles. In the calibration folder, I have a profile for calibration. If I'm just generically printing, I pretty much have these two. Now, this profile is pretty interesting. It's called glue outline. When I load it, it doesn't set the printer temperature, it doesn't set the bed temperature, it sets the print speed at a very high rate. Because there's no offset, the nozzle is touching the build plate. And when it starts to move the nozzle real fast, it pretty much draws a line exactly where the object is going to be. Next thing you want to do, definitely in your slicer, after creating custom profiles, is create custom G-code either for the profiles or just on a regular standard setting itself. And the reason why I say this is because this is pretty much what the regular G-code looks like when you first download Cura. Also, it does the same thing for matter control, because matter control has a very, 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 very simple G-code for the printer to use. And if you are looking to edit something to make your printer print better, I recommend doing custom G-code. And the way that my custom G-code works is that I want to set the printer temperature before anything happens, so that while I'm zeroing and setting up the bed tramming and doing all the other things, the extruders are heating up. I didn't like in matter control that it would zero slowly, run the G29 command slowly, and then after it finally did all that, it would then heat the bed up, and then it would heat the extruder up. The amount of time that took was ridiculous. It took me 6 minutes to prep from 25 degrees Celsius to printing. And now that I have this code set up, because the temperature is set prior to anything happening, while I'm doing everything, the printer is still getting hot. So I use this to set the printer temperature, then I turn my fans off, and then I home the axes, I set my offset, and then I probe the bed. This sets up the bed tramming. Another thing I want to do is I raise the z-axis 2 millimeters, and then I kill the stepper motors so that the motors aren't running the entire time the extruder and the bed are still heating up. Before I do anything else, I zero the extruder to make sure that when I go to print this line right here, because I moved to the front of the print bed, and then I go down to 0.2 layer height, and I set the feed rate real slow, and then I run from the X20 position right here to X200, and I extrude 10 millimeters of filament in that period, and What it does is it allows the extruder to put the filament towards the nozzle and then extrude it. And then after the line's cleared, it does a retraction. It zeroes the extruder, and then it starts the print. Another thing I recommend is a custom user interface. And the reason why I recommend that is because it kind of makes the printer feel more personalized. And so this is what I've changed to the Pronterface UI. And the reason why I've changed these settings is because now I can home the axes without running a G28 command. I can just press this button right here. And I also can run a change filament command. And what this does is it homes all the axes and it heats the extruder up to 220 degrees Celsius, and it raises it to Z50 so that I have a good ability to reach inside the printer and change the temperature, or change the filament out.
So those are all my software upgrades right there. The reason why I love software upgrades is because 1, they're free, and 2, they're very effective. I didn't go into too much detail with everything that I did in terms of software because I spent hours playing with the firmware and hours making that user interface. But you really just need to see how it really helps working. You don't really need to see how I did it. If you do have questions on how I did what, you can leave comments down below and I can try to answer them to my best abilities. I hope this video helps with giving you ideas for your software upgrades, and I also hope that you love your Robo 3D.